welcome back to the exhibit hall. Today we're going to be talking with Thomas Brunner from the Glaucoma Research Foundation. But before we begin, I have a raffle code for you. So anybody that's listening in, you are in luck. Today's raffle code is pachymetry. So as you are going over to the raffle tickets area and entering in that code to get your extra raffle ticket, I'm going to bring on Tom to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his background. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks so much for the invitation to join you today. And I'm Tom Brunner. I'm the president and CEO of Glaucoma Research Foundation, and I've had a long career in medical devices. Basically, my background, actually, I'm an electrical engineer by training. I have an MBA, but I got involved early in my career in ophthalmology and developing lasers for ophthalmology, starting really with the argon laser for photocoagulation, then the first argon laser for trabeculoplasty for treating glaucoma. I've been involved in the development of neodymium YAG lasers for capsulotomies, and all the way up to the SLT, selective laser trabeculoplasty, which has gotten a lot of coverage at the meeting. And maybe we'll have a chance to talk more about that, but it's something I'm really delighted to see becoming a first-line treatment. And also more recently, the femtosecond cataract lasers. So that's been my medical device background. And then 20 years ago, I made a change and joined Glaucoma Research Foundation, and it's just been a highlight of my career. I've just really enjoyed the chance to take all my knowledge from working with so many different glaucoma specialists and other doctors and try to help patients as they communicate with their eye doctors. So that's kind of a quick capsule on my background.
Well, it sounds like you're a true expert when it comes to some of these fancy equipment, so it's wonderful to have you and your knowledge base on that. And why don't we just start by educating everyone on what the mission is of the Glaucoma Research Foundation?
Well, our mission is to cure glaucoma through innovative research and to provide patient education and awareness. And that mission really is about finding a cure and helping patients.
Excellent. And how are you guys bridging that gap between patients and doctors? I know that is such a huge part of your mission and your organization. If you can let us know a little bit about that. Yes,
well, I think one of the things I'm sure you as a doctor appreciate that just the diagnosis of glaucoma is a huge impact on quality of life for patients. And often a newly diagnosed patient, once they hear that and realize it's a lifetime disease, they don't hear much more. And when they get home, they are really fearful that they're going to go blind, despite all the reassurances from the doctors. And so what we try to do is be there for those patients. And one of the most significant things we have is our website. And that's where, as I'm sure you all know, many newly diagnosed patients go right to Dr. Google to find out what's going on. And we're typically one of the first search engine choices. And we have a lot of information to begin to help answer those questions and to help patients get more knowledgeable and hence more engaged in working with their doctors. We also have a program of ambassadors where doctors around the country utilize our free booklets. A huge resource for patients, I think, is our booklet, Understanding and Living with Glaucoma, which was recently revised and actually reflects the first line use of SLT. So it's very current, and it talks about MIGS and explains about medications and how to take eye drops. And it's just a wealth of information for patients, and doctors can order them from us. They're available free. We do charge a little shipping and handling charge, but basically our ambassadors we provide them no charge. And I think it's something that doctors can use and give especially newly diagnosed patients to help them understand their glaucoma. The other thing we're doing is our patient summit. And we actually have one coming up next weekend, I think. 2 weeks? Anyway, it's June 25th in Oak Brook, Illinois, near Chicago. And that's a chance. One of the things that patients ask about and really value is learning from other patients. And at the patient summit, they not only hear from ophthalmologists and optometrists and patients, but they also get a chance to talk with patients and compare stories. And thirdly, that I just have to mention is our Glaucoma 360 meeting. And again, because of my technical background, I'm just excited to see the incredible progress in treatment options for doctors to help their patients with glaucoma. And we have a meeting called Glaucoma 360, which is focused specifically on all the latest developments in glaucoma and really bringing together the doctors, the entrepreneurs who are coming up with these new products that you're hearing about at this meeting, the regulatory people that are involved, the industrial people, the large industry partners, and even the regulatory experts. Everyone that can help to move new ideas from that first idea stage to that use in the clinic and to expedite that. And we like to think that Glaucoma 360, it's a one-day event, and I say focus specifically on glaucoma, but we'd like to believe it's helping in moving these new products and attracting people to the field, attracting entrepreneurs, attracting industry, and just building the wide array of options that doctors now have to treat their patients.
Wow, that's a huge amount of resources, from the website to the resources that you have and the meetings. And particularly what caught my interest was the patient summit. And that's just something I think is really, really important, because patients oftentimes feel very alone when they are diagnosed with a disease that they don't really understand or know about. So for you putting together a meeting where not only they can get incredible information that is actually true and accurate from eye doctors, but then to be able to interact with someone else that has the same disease, I think is incredible, and probably they probably appreciate that so much. And was that kind of the premise behind why you wanted to start a meeting like that?
Absolutely. Again, we get over 4 million visitors to our website, and we have a large number of patients that receive our newsletter, for example. We have an e-newsletter that goes out every month, but we survey our constituents. So we survey patients, and one of the things that patients have asked for is other patients. How can we, support groups is something that patients ask about. And how can we talk with somebody who has what I have, or how can I compare my experiences? And that kind of was the genesis of the patient summit. And we held the first one. This will actually be our fourth coming up. We had 2 virtuals. We had the first one in person here in San Francisco, actually. And it was a great success. You never know when you try something new. But I think, like your meeting, and I don't know if this is the first Eyes on Glaucoma, but it's obviously a huge success. So I'm sure there are going to be many more of these. But yeah, it was filling a need that patients have, and also, again, letting them hear from some of the authorities in their specialty, but not from so much the medical perspective, but from the patient perspective. And how do they view these things, and what are their concerns, and so on.
So let's take a step back. And when you said when a patient is diagnosed with glaucoma and they hear it's a lifelong disease, that is something that they think about, and they oftentimes don't think about anything else, and that's all they can kind of focus on. When patients are newly diagnosed, what would you say are the top 3 questions that usually come up?
Well, I hate to say it, but the very first question is, am I going to go blind? I mean, that's it there. Mm-hmm. And often, as I say, once they're diagnosed, they're kind of not hearing anything else. And so that's a huge concern. And I think a lot of doctors, I mean, you hear this, I hear this often, is the doctors reassure the patient, you're not going to go blind. Very few, actually, fortunately, few glaucoma patients do go blind. It's mainly the ones who, as you've talked at your meeting about, that aren't diagnosed, the 50% of the people that don't know they have glaucoma. And that's why we also do public awareness. But I think that's an immediate concern. I think the other one is certainly treatment. You know, what kind of treatment, what am I going to get? And I do think, and again, it's come out beautifully at your meeting, that patients are kind of, in some ways, not as concerned about eye drops, because sometimes they've taken eye drops, they've had allergic conjunctivitis, or they've had other issues, and or maybe even what we now call ocular surface disease, dry eye or whatever. But again, with the importance of SLT, and full disclosure, as I said, I was involved in the development of SLT, but laser trabeculoplasty, or I like it, and Connie gave me a little shout out, so I have to say I liked Connie Okeke's comment about talking about it as light energy or light therapy, because we all, you know, if we know anything about medical lasers, it's kind of that they cut, or, you know, it's kind of scary. And I think that's the other thing for patients. Maybe the third point would be just recognizing that talking about different treatments is scary and they don't understand it. And so I think it's important to just give them time. But I also feel, and I'm going to put another plug in for the materials we have, because I think we can be an important partner for, you know, the optometrist or the ophthalmologist, as something that a patient can take away with them. And then when they get home or the next day, they can look at a booklet. And even giving them our website, it's just glaucoma.org. It's reasonably easy to remember. But getting to our website, the first thing we talk about is newly diagnosed. Are you newly diagnosed? Here's information we have to help you. So we can hopefully calm them down, let them realize that their key task is to collaborate with their doctors and to work with them and to ask their questions. We really encourage, you know, in fact, even in our booklet, I think we have one page, a blank page, write down your questions for your next doctor visit, because it is so important to get this. It's all about communication. I'm a firm believer that the better the communication between the doctor and the patient, the more confident the patient is in the doctor's recommendations, and I think it translates into compliance, which is always something that we hear about.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're mentioning communication and how important that is, and that you actually have this website that has very accurate and credible information. I think sometimes with social media and some of these public forums, they're great and they're bad all at the same time, right? Where it's great because people feel like they have support and they get to meet other people that have the same disease, so they feel like they're not alone. But sometimes when I'm kind of looking at some of these forums, some of the information can be inaccurate, or it's not really appropriate for another patient to be giving someone advice when they don't even understand the complexity of that other patient's specific disease and maybe the things they've already tried. And of course, you know, they don't know how to interpret OCTs and visual fields and things. So it is really wonderful that you actually have a site where people can go and know that all the information on here is going to be very helpful and also very accurate.
And it is definitely vetted. So everything we do, we have doctors as advisors and as reviewers. Our UG was actually, the revision was over a year in producing, because of the need to really get careful reviews by ophthalmologists and optometrists to make sure that the wording is appropriate. Our website, you'll actually see most of the articles have a date when they were last reviewed. So we do see that as an important obligation, that we be, and not only an accurate, but also an unbiased source of information. So we don't, we're a nonprofit. We receive no government support. We basically are almost entirely funded by individuals, by patients and grateful patients, frankly. So it's, I think it is important for them to know that they can trust the information they find on our website.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Tom, can you tell us about Catalyst for a Cure?
Well, I'd love to. Catalyst for a Cure, I think, it adds a whole nother perspective, if I can say that. So on the one hand, we hope to be a bridge of communication and information. But the most other, and again, you sort of ask, what are patients looking for? The other thing they really look for is some kind of hope that their condition is going to maybe be cured, or that at least, especially for some of the parents with grandkids, that their grandkids are never going to have to go through what they've gone through. So Catalyst for a Cure is a significant research program that we actually initiated over 20 years ago. And what it does is, besides bringing hope to patients that they can see there's real work going on to solve this disease, to come up with better treatments, and to one day cure it, and even to restore vision. Our latest Catalyst for a Cure is actually on vision restoration. And we have stem cell specialists. We have the Catalyst for a Cure is really, what makes it unique is that it's a multi-institutional collaborative effort. So we have 4 principal investigators, often at different institutions, with bringing different perspectives to work in real-time collaboration to better figure out glaucoma and better figure out how, in the case of our most recent effort, how to actually restore lost vision, how to protect those retinal ganglion cells, the retinal nerve cells, and how to even restore. And I was delighted one of the speakers mentioned that, the retinal ganglion cells aren't always gone. Sometimes they're just kind of a little sick. And so you get a defect on your field because that ganglion cell didn't like that light or the group of ganglion cells there. But then the next time you go in for your appointment, maybe they're feeling better and you get a response there. So it may not just be noise or the patient was tired or whatever. It may actually be that those cells come and go. And so we're looking not only at restoring them or replacing them, but also re-energizing them. And there's work going on that in the whole area of neuroprotection. So Catalyst for a Cure is all about moving the research forward and really providing hope for patients that, and especially younger patients today. I think vision restoration is not a dream, and the scientists really believe that it is a possibility. And there are even proof of principle even in animals now. So I think investing in that is very important. And there are huge efforts now on vision restoration, not just our Catalyst for Cure, but other groups in the National Eye Institute as well. So this is a program of research, again, that we fund entirely, the Catalyst for Cure.
Well, that's amazing, and it's great that you're keeping up with all of that incredible technology and research and all these fun things that patients are always asking about once they start looking up the disease. So I'm going to ask just one more question, and I think this is a great way to wrap up our session, is what would you say you have learned as an organization by being an advocate for the glaucoma patient?
Boy, that's an excellent question. I just think what we've learned is that patients can understand a lot more sometimes than we give them credit for. They enjoy being taught, learning. They enjoy being treated as a knowledgeable collaborator in their disease, in their condition. So I think maybe the biggest thing we've learned is not to underestimate the patient and their ability to help themselves and to collaborate and to understand.
That's wonderful. I mean, I think that you've just learned a ton just being that advocate for the patient and just bridging that gap with the communication between the doctor and the patient. So
Yep.
Tom, thank you so much for just what you do, for being the CEO of such an important organization. This is such life-changing work that you're doing, and it was such an honor to get to spend a few minutes chatting with you.
Well, thank you, Stephanie, for the opportunity and for the time and for this terrific meeting.
Excellent. Bye.